Hey, Coach Kevin here. Today I'm going to set you up for long-term success by helping you improve your leg day workouts, by giving you a whole bunch of exercises that are going to build up a really good foundation for you to keep progressing off of and keep making improvements, both in just day-to-day life or athletic performance. Now, this video is good for both people getting started or people that have made some progress and maybe aren't getting the best results, and taking a step back and working on a little bit more of that foundation and then going back into it will help them keep that progression going. So the exercises I'm covering today are going to do a lot to help you with good technique, improving your balance, improving your agility, as well as reducing that risk of injury, so that way you never have to take those steps back when you get injured. You can just keep progressing forward. So it's very important to have good muscular balance. So if you do all the exercises I'm covering today, that's going to, balance the quads with the glutes, the hamstrings. All those stabilizer muscles are going to get really strong all the way through. And then combine that with a good core workout, which I have some great examples in a link below, so make sure to check that out as well. That's going to set you up for success. Any land-based movements, you're going to need that strong foundation all the way through. And you can never skip those long-term leg day core exercises because you don't want to backtrack on that while you're improving your upper body. There's also a lot of great exercises that are going to develop tons of power and strength and speed, but all that's going to go to waste if you don't have it all stabilized. So do these exercises, and then you can check out a video of mine that's going to have more advanced movements that's going to give you that explosive power and speed. Starting out, I'm going to show you squats, and that's a staple of any good leg day just set of exercises. I mean, so many people use squats. There's a whole bunch of variations of them. So I'm going to show you a few that are going to progress you with good technique and good stability. Starting out, I really like people to use a wall to teach them not to lean forward. And so if I put my feet a couple inches from the door, put my hands up like this so my elbows come slightly in front of me, that's going to keep my body upright and prevent me from leaning or bringing my knees forward. Because the two big mistakes that a lot of people do is they bring their knees forward like this when they squat down, or they let their body come forward like this. And so this is going to prevent both of those. So I set myself up and I do my squats like this, keeping my body weight balanced with most of the weight on my heels and my hips going back behind me. A few more things you need to pay attention to are the width of your feet in your stance. So you don't want to do this by turning your feet way out and bowing your knees out to prevent them from hitting the door. You want to make sure your feet, they don't have to be perfectly straight forward, they can turn out a little. But you want them pointed mostly forward with just that slight tilt, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Additionally, these knees should also not go in. So everything should be a straight line from the hip down to your ankle, arms up, helping promote good posture, looking up just a little bit as you do them. So first do some at the door, then do some away from the door, and you may have to go back and forth several times as you keep learning that technique. Now the next one I'm going to show you is going to help develop some of the stabilizer muscles that prevent those knees from bowing in. So we're going to do some side squats with a mini band. So I'm going to use my Elite Athlete medium weight band. And this one gives me a little bit of extra resistance. And I'm going to put it just above my knees. So standing with my feet at hip distance apart, I'm going to then take a wide step. So my feet are a little wider than I would normally do a squat. And then keep those knees in line as I come down and back up, and then come back together. I'm going to step to the other side, do the same thing. So you don't want that band pulling your knees in, right? You want to keep those knees straight as you go through that motion. Just like that. And a micro adjustment just to slightly increase that resistance, or if your band tends to slide up a whole bunch on you, you can put it just below your knees And some people prefer doing it that way as well. So it's going to add a little resistance and prevent it from sliding up. But you do have to be careful, because if you bring your feet all the way together, it could easily just slide down on you. So I do have a lot of other exercises that are going to help develop a lot of that stability throughout your hips. And that's going to do a lot to help prevent injuries down the road. So I have some of them at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around all the way through so you can see all of them. Now we're going to do a front squat. So kind of like when people hold the bar in front of them. The reason why that's very beneficial is because you're having to engage a lot of your back muscles to keep yourself up and hold that bar there. And that, again, not only promotes good technique, but it's strengthening those muscles in your back in a way that's going to help reduce injuries down the road. So when I do them with power bands, I do that same type of squat. I'm going to stand inside the band. Again, good stance first. Make sure my feet are at a good width. And then I'm going to squat down, hold on to the band like this, then lift it up onto the fronts of my shoulders. So a common mistake with this is people put the band back too far like this, and then it's up against their neck. So we really want to avoid that by putting it on the front part of our shoulders. So kind of like if I flex my bicep, it's going to go right in between my deltoid and my bicep. And that's the ideal placement. And then I keep my elbows up so it can just balance there. But we don't want to leave our hands off of it, so you always want to keep your thumb looped, just in case if your elbows drop or your posture goes this way and it slips off, you still have it. So again, good technique, getting those hips back, staying nice and upright with your posture. Now I noticed my knees went forward just a little bit, and it's not the end of the world if the knees go forward just a little bit, but just beware that it does add a little extra stress. And if you're doing a lot of them, that can add up over time. So be conscious of that knee position, be conscious of your posture, and just really focus on good technique. Oftentimes helps to have a mirror or a video camera like a tablet where you can see yourself, and even better, a trainer or a coach, because they're going to notice things that maybe you don't even notice watching yourself. And like I mentioned before, muscular balance is very important. So the next exercises are going to focus on your quads, because that focused a little more on the posterior chain, so we want to make sure everything's balanced really well. So a front lunge is a great way to work out those quads. And that's where you just take a forward step, go to a 90-degree bend, and then push yourself back up, and then switch legs. So you want to be careful about that back knee. You don't want to drop it all the way down. You always want to keep a few inches, so that way if you're getting fatigued, you're not going to go too far down with it. And so once you get good at doing those standing, maintaining that good posture, getting that good 90-degree, then we can progress to the lunge push-offs. And those are going to use the power band to create extra resistance that you're going to push against. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to anchor this nice and low in front of me with one power band. And then I'm going to go inside of it and bring it down kind of like it's a belt. And from there, that's going to give me resistance, pulling me both down and forward. So I'll step back so I've got some pretty good resistance on it. And then I'm going to do that same motion of that front lunge. So taking that step forward and then pushing myself up and back. Now I can do a little bit more resistance on that, so I'm going to take a smaller step back, increase that resistance, and then go on the other side. So notice how I was pushing myself up and back, really engaging those quads to do that. And you probably don't want to start out doing them that way. Just use your own body weight for a little bit, as you get really comfortable using your body weight, then progress to adding the resistance of the band. Now I'm going to go ahead and show some calf raises, and that's one that your own body weight works very effectively with. And so for a while, you're not going to need any added resistance if you just use one leg to lift up your body weight at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate those on the stairs. I'm just going to stand with my foot about halfway on, so that way my heel can easily go below the edge of the stair and push back up. And you want to think about it almost like you're going to stand on your toes, but not quite. You're still on the balls on that front part of your foot. And then you're just going to stand on one foot and then lift yourself up and then back down. And this one's a little harder than it looks. So if you want to start out doing 2 legs at a time, that's going to work well for a lot of you as you first start doing these. And it's just the same thing, standing with both feet instead of one, going up and then down. So now let's go ahead and progress onto those hip exercises I talked about. They're going to give you that rock solid stability coming right from your hip to just make you better at all those land-based movements and reduce that risk of injury. This is something I've seen a lot of really experienced strength trainers and athletes neglect, and then they end up having issues down the road like IT band issues or just a whole variety of things that can go wrong if you don't have the right stabilizer strength to handle what you're doing with your legs. So I went ahead and set up one of the yellow power bands here at the bottom with an ankle strap. And if you're not sure about setting up the equipment, I do have another video that covers a lot of different ways that you can set the equipment up and how to do it. So I'll add that one in the link below so you can check it out as well. So I'm going to put this around my ankle. Scratchy side on the outside, through that metal loop and then in. I'm going to leave just a little bit of room so I can rotate it around my ankle. And with these exercises, we're also going to work on our balance. And so we're going to stand on one leg at a time. And if you need to, when you're getting started, to have like a chair by you so you can hold on to, that's okay. You're going to progress to the point where then you won't need the chair, and then even another point where you don't need to set down the moving foot at all. But when you start, holding on to something, perfectly fine. And so you want to stand facing away, and we're going to do our hip flexion. And we're going to stand at a point where the leg's being pulled a little bit back behind you. And then you're going to bring the leg forward and then lift the knee up. Now I like to do this with a straight leg from here and back, because that's going to create amount of resistance with that hip. That's more of what I'm looking for to get the good results. I don't want to just bend my knee and then start from here, because now my hip's not going to be strong from back behind, like in that position. So again, standing on one leg, bring the leg straight, lift the knee up, and then return. And you're going to work on your balance at the same time, trying not to step down with that moving foot. Right? Try to keep that moving foot up off the ground as much as you can. Then, since I set it up loose so it spins, I can just turn around, go right into the next one. Now this time I'm going to be pulling my leg back behind me, doing a hip extension. So again, I want that resistance pulling my foot in front of me for this one. And then with a straight leg, I'm going to bring it back behind me. Maintaining good balance and good posture. I know some people tend to like to lean forward a little bit as they do this one. So you want to stay nice and upright by looking at something high up and focusing on engaging that glute behind you while keeping your back straight. Then the next one, we're going to do an adduction movement. And so this is bringing your feet together. So I'm pretty strong with this one, so I'm going to step a little bit farther away. And that's something you're going to want to think about as you do each exercise. How much resistance is good for me? Do I need to step closer or farther? And so same thing, just straight leg, and then bringing my feet together. You always want to be controlled as that band pulls back. And then the last one, I'm going to be bringing my foot out to the side. So I'm going to find my proper amount of resistance. I'm going to have the band behind my leg, really working that muscle that's going to help stabilize me, and then separating my legs, bringing them back together. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen exercises where you use the mini bands to do that kind of stuff, but I've noticed I get much better results doing them with the power band this way, especially since I'm balancing at the same time. So a lot of people don't realize that just balancing on one leg takes a lot of work, and you're working all those little muscles throughout your ankle, all the way up your leg, that are going to help reduce that risk of injury and just make you a lot more stable during all of your movements. So I highly recommend doing these hip exercises, working on that balance, and it's going to set you up for that long-term success. So as always, if you like any of the exercises in this video, please click like below, share it with anyone else you think that would appreciate learning these exercises, and make sure you subscribe so that way you keep getting more videos, so that way you can be strong and be elite.